Hello and welcome to the video. This is our first look at this thing here. Now this is something that quite a few of you have been in touch and asked me to take a look at. This is the new, well, updated actually, AtomRC Theer Bat, slightly odd name. Now some of you will be looking at this and some have already spotted that this actually isn't a brand new model. This is an update of something called the SKYZONE Theer that's been around for a little while. Now this is a slightly updated version, and AtomRC really know how to make some amazing models. Three of my favourite models at the moment are actually AtomRC. The Dolphin, my #1 plane still. We also have the Swordfish, and we've got things like the Penguin as well. So AtomRC know a thing or two about building a really good foam plane or wing around modern FPV. However, what they've done here is some small changes, smaller than I expected actually, to take the SKYZONE Theer Bat into this new AtomRC version. The big game changer here for this is the wings are now removable. There is a carbon spar that goes along the back just in front of the mount, 2 additional locating carbon spars at the front, and there is a thumb screw inside, which means that the whole thing can be taken apart to make it easy to transport, but also easier to repair if you do something pretty impressive to a wing. Now this is going to be sold in 3 different kits. The first one is just going to be a kit without any electronics. This is the PNP version, which comes with the electronics. I've had to install them all myself. I'll show you that in a minute. It comes with metal geared, I think they're digital servos. Also has a motor and ESC and a couple of 6-inch props as well. Still has the LED plate at the back from the original Theer Bat and all of the other pieces that you need. So all you would need is a receiver and basic FPV gear, and away you'd go. Or you could build it out to be whatever you want, because it still retains some of the nice things the original Theer Bat had, which is how it was done 4 or 5 years ago, where there's a space for an action camera in the nose and you've got a space for your regular FPV camera. However, that gap at the front does mean that this is very customizable for modern HD FPV. You could easily have it here in airflow to keep everything nice and cool. So while I unbox this, let's talk about the specs. The specifications on this, the wingspan is 860 millimeters, length is 385. It comes with 2 9-gram servos, and the motor is a 2207 2306.5 1950 kV motor. Recommended ESC, and you do get one in this, is a 4S 30 amp ESC. As you can see here, you do get all the bits, you got the push rods and connectors for the wings and stuff. So it does take probably about 40 minutes to put together, and that includes a bit of time waiting for all the glue to set up as well. You can see here that the body is very similar. There are the mounting holes at the bottom for the battery, but also nice straps inside for things like an action camera as well. And that means that this is really customizable, and I'm sure there's already lots of 3D printable bits that could go in the front. And if I build mine out, you know me, I'll probably end up making something and sharing it on Thingiverse. Recommended propeller for this is a 6-inch by 4.2-inch 2-bladed prop. You're going to get a couple of these in the packet, and the recommended takeoff weight is 500 grams. Hinges are foam, but everything is pre-drilled, reinforced with carbon fibre. We have the bays at the bottom, like the old school style, where you have 1 in each wing with a thing out the top for the antenna, so you could put your receiver in one, your transmitter in the other. That's how we always used to do it back in the day. And the end has this little wooden connector on it that you can put your wing ends on. There's actually 2 in the box. You'll see that in a minute. But as you can see here, we are going to have to install both the servos and the linkages and set all that up. And I'll show you how to put it together. Nice to see the CG though on the wings. That's going to make it easy to check at the field. These bits of plastic are the carbon fibre rod that goes at the back, and also the protector for the wing leading edges. We have a manual which doesn't really show you how to put it together. This seems to be for all of the kits, including the one that comes with iNav. I haven't got that one sadly, but I might put iNav in this. We have a motor and the ESC with all the wires and the prop nuts, even an XT60 connector. So you could do a little bit of soldering and put that together, but you are going to need to solder it. Here are the 2 6 by 4.2 inch props. We have the 2 servos here that we're going to put in, AtomRC branded, metal geared. Seem to be reasonably good from a little bit of playing that I've done here. A bag of bits, which includes the alternative wing ends, similar to the kind of things that were on the TBS Campinas, those kind of more symmetrical stuff. So there's no real surprises there. In terms of putting it together, it is pretty straightforward and easy, and this is going to cause you too many problems. First thing I did was spend a bit of time doing the wings. I would recommend standard stuff. Pro tips with this build are pretty standard for what you'd expect. Test fit everything before you start. I would center the servos before you install them and attach the servo arms. You may need a small relief cut to get the servos in the wing cleanly. I did here. The hole wasn't quite the right shape, oddly. My other big tips are I'd fit the rod attachment to the control horn before you screw them in. It's just a bit easier that way. And lots of options to adjust the throws manually. There's massive options on the control arms and also on the servo arm as well. I'm just going to guess initially what that's going to be, but I might change it once I get to fly it. Leading edge protection is attached with a line of glue, but I would keep it in place with something like Scotch tape so you don't damage the foam. And the other tips I'd give you are, would I install the self-tapping screws into the carbon fibre motor mount that you get in this kit before you screw the motor mount onto the back of the motor. I unfortunately didn't do that, which meant that it was a bit of a fight to get the other self-tapping screws into the carbon fibre support. But the first time you build anything, you always learn something. And I would also use a little bit of glue to secure the LED strips at the back if you do fit them. And again, use a bit of Scotch tape or something to keep them in place while they set up overnight. I wouldn't use anything like hot glue because the LEDs are going to get warm in operation. One of my patrons, Gary, asked me to have a quick look at what its comparison is with the Baby AR Wing Pro. They look similar. But actually, this one has an awful lot more wing area than the Baby AR Wing Pro. However, when you take the battery bay covers off, you can see here that there's actually probably similar amounts of room. There's just a little bit more wing each side on this Theer Bat. Maximum battery size in the Theer Bat is going to be 11 by 3 by 4.5 centimeters. The overall bay is 11 centimeters by 3 centimeters high at the front, 2 centimeters at the back, so a little low, and it's 14 centimeters long-ish. The lack of bay height at the back is going to mean, though, that the connectors on the flight controller can't really stand up easily, otherwise you're going to have to cut holes in the battery cover. So there's lots of things that I like at first glance. There is lots of room inside for both a nice chunky battery, but also for your flight controller or something like a co-pilot or something in the back. Or if you just want to fly it like you stole it and you don't want to bother about all that messing about, then you have enough room for all the cables to come together in the back for you to pop a nice little receiver in here, put some basic FPV equipment in it if you want to do that, and away you go. You'll be having a whale of a time. But it does mean that there is that versatility with the bays out here in the wings. If you want to start messing around and start putting things in, like a stabilizer or even full iNav or even RD pilot, and that nose means that you can potentially do some funky stuff and put in there HD FPV systems or even action camera to go along with the camera in the nose. Only a couple of things to be aware of with this from my build out. This is feeling to me like it's a relatively minor upgrade of quite a mature wing design. Obviously the big news is the wings are now removable, and that is great. However, the wing tips are only connected with these foam versions with a line of glue. Hopefully that's going to keep it in place. If you use the wooden ones, then you do get self-tapping screws to actually screw it in. And I would probably use the wooden wing ends if I was going to be breaking this down for travel on a regular basis. These are quite large wing ends compared to the little wooden ones. One of the threads on one side of my little thumb screws in here has been damaged, so I can't get the screw in properly. I think I've just been unlucky with mine. I have done a little spacer and that's kind of keeping the wing in place, but do test fit everything and just make sure that the threads are okay before you get too far in your build. The hinges on here may benefit from a little bit of blend tape on the top and bottom before you put the wing together. Again, these feel nicely made. There is a real delicate spot between having a wing hinge that can be produced reliably via the injection molding process and also have one that isn't too thick, that it is stiff, and these seem to be beautifully made, but potentially there is an option to reinforce them with Blender before you put the wing together. If I got another one of these, I would probably do that. The screw for the battery clip thing at the front, it's actually held in place with magnets, which is nice, but it isn't captive. Be aware of that. It's a bit of a wacky design. I'm not a massive fan of this. I'm not a massive fan of battery hatches that close from the front. That means that if they do start to lift with a bit of air pressure getting in, and you are going to have to cut some reliefs to get wires in and out of this front canopy, if it lifts at all, it's going to take off. Now that's, I'm guessing, why they've added this extra screw at the front. So with the thumb screw, you can actually secure it down. Not a massive fan of that idea. I think it would have been better if it actually connected the other way around, so it went in the front and then snapped in at the back, but we can't have everything. And also, no thoughts for where to install the GPS. I guess you could use one of these bays out at the side, but there aren't any electrical connectors in the root of the wing, so anything you install out here in the bays, if you do remove the wing, you're going to have to start unplugging stuff from your flight controller, ESC or whatever, and that's a bit of a shame. So in summary, this is a nice sized wing, and it's a useful update to the original Theer Bat design, with those removable wings making it easier to break down for transport and storage and repair. But have they gone far enough? Well, for me, I would have loved to have seen a bay for a GPS, a little bit thought about how you could put cameras and things in the nose, because with things like the AtomRC Dolphin, I think AtomRC gave everybody a masterclass in how you build a nose for HD systems. I would have liked electrical connectors in the wing roots. That would have had a little bit more weight, but it would have made the removal and replacement of the wings an awful lot more simple for those of you that like to stick stuff in a backpack. And I would have also liked to make sure that all the screws on this thing are captive, because those little black plastic screws, if you drop it into the grass, they disappear forever. Don't ask me how I know. But I'm guessing if you're in the market for all that kind of funkiness, there are other models about that are going to better suit you. Things like the Baby AR Wing Pro and some of the other stuff that's around. But if you have had one of these in the past, maybe one of the original Theers, and you want to upgrade and try something new, or you just want something that you're going to have a lot of fun with, then this is one of those wings that is very basic, but I think quite versatile, because you could build it into something that's going to fly for a reasonably long time. You could upgrade the motor and prop and make it into a screamer. You could add your iNav stuff. You don't need to have any of the flight control stuff if you just want to fly it with basic FPV and a receiver. You can pretty much do anything. So I'm tempted to put iNav into mine with a little flight controller, stick it in the back and take it for a fly. But I imagine the flight characteristics are going to be very, very similar to the original SKYZONE Theer Bat that you can still see listed online. So if you find any of the stuff that's talking about the flight characteristics, tips and tricks for that original Theer Bat, I think they'll still apply to this AtomRC update. Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Pedantry 60 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.